And you know, while we're waiting for the bowlers to complete their warm-ups, let's have a brief look at Earl Anthony's victories the last 2 weeks, back-to-back. Prior to the tour's visit to St. Louis 2 weeks ago, Earl Anthony had won only one tournament in 2 years, hardly what he's used to. So he had extra determination in the Rolaids Open.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, Earl had his 33rd career title, and if anyone had doubts that a 42-year-old could be a force on the tour, he erased them last week in Peoria. He qualified in 5th place, near the bottom of the ladder, but with that methodical style that has become his trademark, he proved to be unbeatable as he swept through the field. It was the 5th time he had won back-to-back titles in his career, and now this week he has the chance to accomplish one of the few things in bowling which has eluded him, the chance to win 3 in a row. High hit, avoiding the split, the 4-7.
Chris, the last 4 tournaments have been won by these 2 players. Marshall Holman winning back-to-back the Quaker State in the first leg of the Triple Crown, the U.S. Open. Earl Anthony, who picked up a harder ball to shoot for the spare, cross lane at the 4-7, won the Rolaids and the AMF Classic.
Oh, and Earl leaves the 4-pin on the left lane.
And his wife has a comment about that. He just slid by. Remember, we used a harder or slicker ball, and see, it does not bite at the end of the lane. Slides right by the 4, just knocking off the 7. A great break for Holman.
So here's the man that took the week off last week. All right, we mentioned the week off for the man that just struck. Here's what Marshall had to say about it.
Basically, if I'm not ready mentally, I have no chance. It doesn't matter how good I feel physically. I have to be ready mentally, and taking the week off, I felt fresh, and that's why I bowled good this week.
Okay. 26-year-old champion. And the 3 2-pin stands on the left lane.
Marshall playing a line to the pocket a little different than the 2 other players we've seen, the right-handers, Charlie Tapp and Wayne Webb. Marshall Holman playing more towards the center on around the 17th board, throwing the ball very slow and trying to break it very sharply at the back end.
And you're watching 2 great professionals, Marshall Holman and Earl Anthony, who do it in a hurry. They're organized, they get on the approach, and they're ready to shoot.
Earl Anthony with 8 consecutive victories in the championship rounds, going back to St. Louis, Missouri.
Holman has won $56,750 this year. The right lane.
Seems like the characteristic of the left side is the same as the right, Chris. He comes up on the right-hand lane and leaves the washout. Here's the profile of Earl from the back. Notice how he slides straight through, lifts the ball straight through with a hand going over the ball very late. A great shot.
1, 3, 6, 7. So, how often will you see back-to-back open frames on the part of Earl Anthony?
17 through the second, much different profile than he started the last 3 games that he's won in the championship round. He had a 7-bagger twice last week and started with a 6-bagger his first game today.
And Mark Roth, if he's watching, knows how it feels. Still not coming up.
Amazing the touch that Earl Anthony has. He's varied his line slightly to adjust for that split he had in the early frame, or the 4-7, the errant hit shot. And he breaks down the bucket, leaves the 3-5. By no means a gimme spare.
All right, that was the spare in the 3rd frame. The first mark for Earl Anthony, who had 9 strikes in the previous game in defeating Charlie Tapp of Minnesota 266 to 195. Now Holman a strike and a spare, shooting in the 3rd. Second strike in 3 frames. Taking the week off back in Medford, Oregon, and I asked him what he did, and he said nothing. Didn't go snow skiing, just hung around the house.
Well, he's on a new physical conditioning kick, Chris, and it really has helped his game. You can see it in his upper body. He's put on about 10 pounds in his shoulders and his arm for weightlifting. He's doing a lot of running. But one thing that he and Earl both have in common is that steady head. Watch the head of Marshall Holman. Doesn't hardly move at all.
So it's a big double for Marshall Holman. Back-to-back victories early this year, including the United States Open Championship, taking a week off, and Earl Anthony has won the last two. So this confrontation will continue at the Buckeye Lanes in North Olmstead after this. Toboggan Championships from Switzerland and Masters Surfing the women. Leaving the 4-7, and though our 5 finalists.
Definitely lost something. I don't know what it is.
Definitely lost something. I don't know what it is. I was about to say that the option is given to the 5 bowlers. Earl decided that he would allow our wireless microphone as he has the past 2 weeks. And you heard his comments.
He looked on.
Spare in the 4th, Earl Anthony.
Anthony trailing by 35. Chris, if he really wants to know what he lost, he had a real firm speed on the right-hand lane. In the left-hand lane, he was playing the big hook and letting it break in there. So I'm sure that he is somewhat aware of it. Play the big hook on the left lane and the speed on the right lane.
No break, leaving the 7th. Man that at one time won 4 of 6 tournaments that he competed in. More stops on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
The King Louis Open in Overland Park, and Palmer Fahlgren gets to defend his True Value Open in Miami, Florida.
And Earl Anthony misses the 7-pin. His third open
like
frame in 5.
Can't believe it.
On the same lane, Chris, he slid by in the channel on the left-hand lane, has opened the door wide open for Marshall Holman. Marshall 47-pin lead.
All but 7. You know, he made the finals. Earl apparently had some open frames throughout the week.
Well, he said he had a little trouble converting spares, but his strike ball was working very well. And if he's going to come back in this match, he's going to have to throw another big string of strikes.
7-pin. Let's replay and get a better idea of Marshall's style, Bo.
Very much like Earl Anthony's. Low, steady head, has a locked elbow, and a lot more hook and turn on the ball. But he stays low at the line with a good, solid follow-through. These two players right now are the 2 premier players in the game of bowling right now. Holman and Anthony bowling as good as anybody.
And Marshall Holman, having won $56,750 already this year, leading, while Anthony 52,800, far ahead of the record pace set by Mark Roth,
who took this week off.
There's an Anthony strike, the first through 6 frames after having 9 in the last game and a big 266. Earl Anthony.
Not much for Earl to think about here. He trails by 46 pins in the match. He must string strikes. There's not much to work on. Just make one good shot after another, and hopefully he can get another string of 5 or 6 in a row to close the gap.
Well, that takes care of any comebacks, huh, folks?
A solid 9, and he'll remember that pin.
Thank you.
Here's the pin that Earl left on these lanes for a $2.99 game years back. The solid 9. It may stop his string of 2 wins in a row and a chance for his 3rd consecutive title. That was a key shot.
So his comeback after opening twice, as we look at other cashers.
Dave Suter almost making the top 5. Gil Sliker bowling well this week. Winkelpleck in 7th place. Joe Hutchinson, Dickinson bowling steady. Another left-hander, Hugh Miller, and Gip Lentini, one of the really tough players on the tour, right up in the top 15.
And Marshall's double has increased his lead now to 56 pins here in the semifinal match. The winner to meet the tournament leader, a non-winner named Mal Lacosta.
And this is the one that puts Mr. Anthony away, and Marshall is out there to win. He wants it all this year. He wants to be the man, bowler of the year. He has to get by Anthony to do it. Another Another solid 9, Chris. That is only the second time I've ever seen a right-hander leave that particular shot on a Pro Bowlers Tour. The ball cutting through very sharply, pulling the 5 straight off the 9. Lisa Falgren's husband, Palmer, finishing 14th. Kyle Shedd, a defending champion.
Oh, just made it. The 9-pin. 158 through the 7th. The spare in the 8th for Marshall Holman. Anthony is up, spare working, shooting in the 8th. Anthony, who finished 2nd here in the Buckeye Lanes, the Cleveland Open in 1979. Big problems, his 2nd game. Susie, his wife, watching.
Well, it's just about all over. Just barring anything, there's no way that Anthony can win his 3rd consecutive title. Holman has got him well in hand. Ted Malicki making his annual cameo appearance here in Cleveland. Steve Martin, he's a winner this year. Jeff Morin from local area. Frank Zitnik bowls well. Kenny Hall, John Forst, who had the only 300 game in the tournament, and another Acosta, who will see one in the final round, up in 24th place, no relation.
And
when it falls apart, Chris, it falls apart a solid 10. Earl just had no good breaks this game at all. Had splits when he hit the nose. Missed a few spares, very unusual for Earl. Left a solid 9 in the 7th frame and a solid 10 in the 9th.
had nothing to say.
What frame we have?
Foundation strike for the man that has the hottest hand at the moment, Marshall Holman.